Okay, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you anyway because you might not want to move here. Hey there, I'm Lindsey Vance with Real Broker, and on today's episode of Living in South Carolina, I'm going to go over 5 cons about the state. These might be reason enough that it's not a good fit for you. But I have good news because I can help you no matter where you want to live. Let's jump into it. First, we're going to go over one of the biggest attractions of the state, which is the beautiful weather. But wait, we're talking about cons here, and there are definitely some downfalls to the heat, humidity, and natural disasters of South Carolina. So obviously, summertime is hot and humid. You can typically expect 90-degree temperatures throughout July and August. But luckily, we have our beaches, lakes, and rivers where you can have a nice cool off. Then we're moving into the fall season. This is when hurricanes begin and is typically common in the coastal regions of the state. Now moving on to the winter season, there's not much that's happening, but there'll be an occasional ice storm and even some snow in the upstate region of South Carolina. So spring obviously brings showers and those afternoon thunderstorms. And there are definitely parts of the state that are subject to flooding, especially in those coastal regions. In the spring, you can also expect a small threat of tornadoes. Now, it's nothing like you hear of the tornadoes out west. Ours are on a level of T1, T2, if that at all. So the weather in South Carolina is overall fantastic, but there's definitely a downfall to each season. Now, this next con I get asked about all the time. Bugs. Are there bugs in South Carolina? Well, of course there are. The heat and humidity is a perfect home for bugs, other pests, including mosquitoes. In addition to mosquitoes, you also have the most common bug of the state, the palmetto bug. Now, this is just a glorified name for a cockroach. This does not mean your home is dirty or anything like that. It's typically attracted to a wet or an area high of moisture. Okay, so we've covered mosquitoes and the palmetto bug. We also have gnats, no-see-ums, and the terrible fire ant. Yep, the one that bites. It's terrible, and I know you know it if it's happened to you. Okay, so moving on to the bigger pest of South Carolina that most of you have heard of is the alligator. These are mostly known in the coastal areas, wetlands, and larger bodies of water. They're not much threat to humans, but they are to smaller animals, so you'll want to keep an eye out. Now, most of these pests, animals, bugs, are pretty manageable, but they are a pain to deal with. So most people see it as such a dream to live at the beach. I know I do. But hang on, you might want to do a little extra research on the cost of living in a coastal area. So living at the coast comes with the risk of natural disasters. You've got hurricanes and flooding, which means additional insurance, maintenance, and repairs. You also have that salt air and a lot of wind most of the time, which again means more repairs and maintenance over time. Between the higher cost of coastal living with goods, services, and even insurance, you're also looking at a higher average home price. Between Charleston and Hilton Head Island, the average home is much higher than the average throughout the state of South Carolina. So you've probably heard that real estate taxes, transportation, and retirement cost of living in South Carolina is pretty affordable. But hang on, they have to get their money somewhere. So between income tax, sales tax, and personal property tax on your vehicles, you'll definitely have some expenses there. Starting with the most important, income tax. So if you're making $15,000 or more, the state is actually going to take 7% of every extra dollar you make on top of that. That's pretty big compared to the rest of the states in the country. Next, we've got personal property taxes on your vehicles. Now, the state of South Carolina charges a 5% sales tax when you purchase a vehicle. It does max out at $500. The additional fees may include your vehicle title, your plate, and your registration renewal, which happens every 2 years. Our last point on taxes is sales tax. Now, the state of South Carolina charges 6% overall, but actually local municipalities are able to tag on anywhere from 1 to 4% on top of that to support capital improvements, schools, and even tourism. So you've got places like Myrtle Beach and Charleston that are upwards of 10% in their sales tax. It doesn't stop there though. You also have sales tax on alcohol and tobacco. So of course, I'm gonna tell you that South Carolina has so many perks and is an amazing place to live, which is of course why so many people are moving here and love living here. It was actually named the #3 most popular state to move to by Forbes Home. But when something becomes popular, then it may become overpopulated. Now, I'm not saying that this overpopulation is happening throughout the state, but because South Carolina promotes so much of outdoor activity and recreation, those destination locations is what's becoming popular. In some of these popular areas, you may see a higher population during the seasons, especially in the summer and those tourist visitors. The hard thing about this as a local, when those visitors are in town, they don't keep in mind that the locals are not always on vacation. Now, although overpopulation is a con, there is something good happening in these popular areas. They have suburbs that are continuously growing. So it might not be a bad thing to consider something outside of that general area. So we just went over 5 cons about South Carolina, and there may be some reasons in here that this state is not a good fit for you. But I gave you good news in the beginning, and here's your reminder. My team can help you no matter if you're gonna move in or out of the state. I would love to hear about your real estate goals. But in the meantime, if you're looking for more videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm Lindsey Vance, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Living in South Carolina.